Yeah, hi. Quantum magazine, this just popped up on my newsfeed. Cosmologist Perry attacks on the wanted cosmological principle, the central pillar of cosmology. The universe is the same everywhere and in all directions, is surviving a storm of possible evidence against it. The latest attempt to rattle the foundation of cosmology appeared as a smattering of dots pulled upward into a cosmic sneer. The arc of distant galaxies, which Alexia Lopez presented at the American Astronomical Society's meeting in June, sprawled so far across the sky that it would take 20 full moons to hide it. Spanning an estimated 3.3 billion light years of space, the smile shaped structure joined a controversial club. Unexpectedly big things. It's so big that it's hard to explain with our current beliefs. Yeah, there are beliefs because they can prove it still. Juan Lopez, one of the astrophysicists at the University of Central Lancashire who identified the galaxy chain, said during the presentation. Lopez's giant arc seemed to clash with an idea that has guided astronomy for centuries, that the universe has no conspicuous features. For the zoomed out perspective, no matter where you are or which way you look, you should see roughly the same number of galaxies pinwheeling around. This assumption, enshrined as the cosmological principle, has let researchers draw sweeping conclusions about the whole universe based only on what we see from our corner of it. If that turns out to be wrong, then we have to redo many of our measurements or reinterpret many of our measurements, said Ruth Durer, a cosmologist at the University of Geneva. As a load-bearing strand of modern cosmology, the cosmological principle has increasingly become a target. Some challenges, like Lopez and her colleagues, are astrophysicists puzzled by striking celestial conglomerations. Others are maverick cosmologists unsettled by the consensus view that most of the stuff in the cosmos hides from our instruments in the form of dark matter and dark energy. They wonder whether theorists may have conjured phantasms to patch up an overly simplistic theory of cosmology. Most everyone agrees that the cosmological principle is worth scrutinizing. So far, though, each new claim of a too big structure or other anomaly has failed to make a dent. We are trying to poke as many holes as we can. Black holes, I guess, said Seshadri Nadatur, a cosmologist at University College London, while being very skeptical of someone else saying they've poked a hole. From Copernicus to Einstein, and soon to Walt Thornhill. The cosmological principle grew out of the Copernican principle Nicolaus Copernicus' 1543 realization that Earth is not the fixed center of a creation. His insight that Earth orbits the Sun rather than the other way around set off a series of humbling shifts in perspective. Astronomers proved in the 1800s that the Sun is just a normal star. The following century, they spotted countless galaxies beyond our own. We are not special, said Henry Hubble, a cosmologist at Las Cumbres Observatory at the University of California, Santa Barbara. The universe keeps telling us that. An impossible arc. A sprawling collection of galaxies known as the Giant Arc has challenged the assumption that matter is spread smoothly throughout the cosmos. The information, if it were visible to the naked eye, would dwarf the moon and rubber. Yes, because galaxies are formed in cosmic sea pinches. They're aligned according to the Birkeland currents, which are flowing and filling space. You can read the rest of the article I want. I want to show you another funny article which baffles scientists. When did the woolly mammoth go extinct? New researchers upend previous theories. And I would say this would go into one of my, how to put it, favorite categories of things I'm intrigued about, which is the timeline issue. So let's go quickly through that. By analyzing DNA found in Canadian soil samples from thousands of years ago, scientists have adjusted the timeline of woolly mammoth extinction by 8,000 years. The adjustment is 8,000 years. When did the woolly mammoth go extinct? Scientists have long believed that woolly mammoths died out some 13,000 years ago, which fits really well with the 12,000-year cycle of the sun, which means it's upon us again. Back then, when the mammals were roaming the earth, according to this, 12,000, 13,000 years ago, it was the age of the lion, which the Sphinx might represent. But anyway. But the new study suggests that they survived much longer. Yeah. Whoa, what a really nice commercial. In a study published in Nature, researchers from McMaster University, the University of Alberta, the American Museum of Natural History, and the Yukon government combed through ancient soil samples for clues about the mammoth's decline. They found that the woolly mammoths, along with steppe bison and ice age horses, had survived 8,000 years longer than previously thought. All three species endured even as the climate warmed and human hunters became even an ever-present threat. We identify a lingering signal of Epus sp, North American horse, Mammutus primigenius, woolly mammoth, at multiple sites persisting thousands of years after their supposed extinction from the fossil record, the researchers explained in their study. When did the woolly mammoth go extinct? By examining soil samples from Pleistocene-Holocene transition era, roughly 11 to 14,000 years ago, scientists found the mammoth populations were in decline, but the animal hadn't died out yet. DNA suggests that they managed to survive until about 5,000 years ago, concurrent with the construction of the pyramids of Giza. Incredibly, the scientists made their mammoth find all within a tiny sample of ancient soil. Researchers at McMaster University have been developing a way to extract DNA from soil samples, which is how McMaster University archaeologists and the study's lead author Tyler Morchie made the discovery. All of the DNA from those animals and plants is bound up in a tiny speck of dirt. Organisms are constantly shedding cells throughout their lives. Humans, for example, shed some 500 million skin cells every day. Much of this genetic material is quickly degraded, but some small fraction is safeguarded for millennia through the sedimentary mineral binding and is out there waiting for us to recover and study, changing the dates of Ice Age extinctions. Remarkably, the evolutionary sample of dirt had gone unnoticed for a decade. It had first been collected in Yukon territory in 2010, but had been left unanalyzed in a university freezer ever since. Murchie found it in cold storage while searching for inspiration. I found them in the freezers while looking for a new project during my PhD. One of my responsibilities at the Ancient DNA Center is freezer maintenance, so I had a good idea of what cool stuff might be in there, waiting for someone to study. By examining the soil sample, he and his team could paint a picture of the ecosystem dating back to 30,000 years. Just from gathering tiny flecks of dirt, in this case between about 0.5 and 1 gram, which is very little sediment, we can reconstruct the whole ecosystem with a variety of animals that existed in the area. The permafrost, he added, helps preserve DNA over thousands of years by keeping it cold and protected from elements like water and sunlight. They're just kind of locked in place until someone comes along and is able to recover those fragments. What's more, Murchie added, his discovery demonstrates the incredible potential of soil samples trapped in permafrost. Now that we have these technologies, we realize how much life history information is stored in permafrost. The amount of genetic data in permafrost is quite enormous and really allows for a scale of ecosystems and evolutionary reconstruction that is unparalleled with other methods to date. But these windows into ancient life and Earth are rapidly narrowing. Permafrost across the globe is melting as the climate warms. Yeah, this might be also because of the sun, destroying evolutionary evidence about Earth's history. If we don't collect the samples and they just thaw and degrade, then we lose all that life history data that's been preserved for all this time. Still, the melting permafrost has offered up other ancient secrets. In recent years, researchers have found an incredibly well-preserved Ice Age bear in the Siberian permafrost and a mummified 18,000-year-old puppy. Yeah, and they were side by side. Yeah. As such, it's sure that the permafrost will continue to offer new discoveries, even as a warming climate erases some ecological evidence for good. Now, new researchers upend previous theories. Maybe one of those people should read Velikovsky's book, should check out the electric universe theory, which is fact-based on real physics, and check about cycles of the sun, how finally they correlate with those mass extinctions and all these other things. They just don't know because they live in the wrong paradigm based on Einstein, Newton, and all these. That's somehow like it's baffling. It's really baffling. Those scientists have all the tools what you could dream of to make all kinds of experiments and stuff. But they just don't understand what they are seeing. Somehow. It's amazing. Baffling. Yeah. I leave it here. Thanks.